Those are the most painful things that she ever did, was just neglecting me. My name is Brianna Rodriguez, and I am a survivor of being molested and raped. When I was 5 years old, I was molested and raped by my dad. I remember my dad carried me home from a party. It was from the evening. I call my stepdad my dad. My real dad wasn't with me. We came back from a wrestling event last night, and my mom wanted it to stay in my grandma's house to still talk with her, including my sister stood with her, and my stepdad took me home. I remember this moment where when we arrived at home, he would put me down on the bed in my mom's room, and he would just lay me there and started kissing me and rubbing my thigh and then rubbing my part down there. I didn't know if that was normal because me as a 5 years old, I didn't really know anything at all. This was new. He didn't say to keep a secret. It's just like out of nowhere, and then he stopped. And after that, I was super tired, so I fell asleep because it was early in the morning. After that, like in a few days, he started making me touch his, and then he made me suck his part. There would be like a lot of times when he would do that. He would keep on, it would be like a everyday daily thing, like morning to night. He would just like do the same exact thing. I do remember in the next house that I moved into, my mom would give me like sleeping pills, including him, because I had trouble sleeping. But like every midnight, he would just go in and try to put his inside of me, and I would just wake up to that, and I try to like say no, I don't want it, and then he'll just like get out the room because my mom kept on calling him to see what's he doing, and my dad would say, I'll be right. I do have troubles with pills now because it reminds me of it. There was my stepdad uncle. He came along. He was from Mexico. He also started to try and molest me as well in the basement, like put me into like on top of the washing machine and try to molest me like that while bending down, and I was just frozen in fear because I didn't know what to do. After that happened, I spoke out about it. Instead of them calling the police or like beating him up, they just took him back to the airport to Mexico and just covered it up. Never spoke about it again. I thought I was not gonna see him again, but they did invited him to stay for a little bit longer. My mom only told me to stay away from him, but he's literally living inside the house. I'm literally in the house, living in my house, so how am I supposed to stay away from him if he keeps on coming at me and I'm just a little kid? And this was like over the years, it's just 5 up to 8, those stuff has been happening. So I would just get beat up, bullied from school because I was either quiet and kept to myself, which made me started drawing, because drawing did help me escape from reality. I started drawing like the Powerpuff Girls. I started drawing anime. It would just stop me from writing or like doing homework or just like learning in class, because I just couldn't really focus on school more than focusing on my life. I remember when I got tired of being bullied, and I got tired of life at this moment because how much it was affecting me, because he kept on doing it. Like he kept on molesting me and I kept on getting bullied. And every time when I told my mom or my dad, they would just like ignored me from being bullied, and ended up telling one of the kids. I wrote down like a letter telling a girl the reason why I'm acting this way, and like she sent a letter to the counselor, and the counselor pulled me in, and I told them about me being molested and raped. And they didn't want me to go back to class. I was too scared to go home because I don't know what my mom would think, because I don't know if she would still let him live there after, all the stuff that happened, because they did the same thing to my uncle. And that's when they called the cops. They brought him to jail, and then court started happening. And during the trials that was happening, my mom kept on sending love letters and money to my stepdad, thinking that she didn't know what was going on. But in reality, why would he send love letters and money to him, knowing that he was a pedophile? Because he would also hit me if I was disrespectful to him. Like, he'll just grab me and slam me to the wall because I did not want to do anything. I wanted to draw all the time, and I would just say, shut up, because I don't want to hear him talk no more, and I would just get hit. When those court stuff was happening, my mom did not want to believe it. I had a feeling she knew about what was happening, but she just pretended not to know what was happening. I know for a fact because this was after my aunt told me when we went to my grandma's house. They started arguing with my mom because she knew those stuff was happening to me, because they even warned her do criminal stuff and rape girls, and I was scared. Every time when my mom visits them, they'll just say straight at her because she didn't do anything about it, or she shouldn't have knew sooner because she knows all of those stuff. She's a hypocrite. She would just say, if she sees stuff or someone tells her that, a guy molested or touched someone, she'll say, oh no, why would they do that? She was Catholic, so she'll say God will do stuff, God will judge them. When I was sitting in class, there was this girl that was one of the kids that was bullying me the most, and I started writing down my problems about what my stepdad was doing and what was going on at home, about my dad started touching me, my mom lost interest in me, neglected. I wanted to tell someone because all the stuff that was happening, I needed comfort. So the girl ended up raising her hand and going to the counselor office, and the counselor told her that she needs to go back to class because this is actually serious. And that moment he said, so your stepdad did this to you? And I told him yes, but this was just a mindful talk from my mind to another person because I didn't know what to do, because I kept on getting bullied. So I decided to write that stuff, and I wanted to go back to class, but he didn't let me because this was serious. That's when they arrested him at work while my mom was at home. My mom didn't know he got arrested. She was just at home until they sent me home early. They sent me home after school, but I stood there for 2 hours in the counselor office. After that, the next day, my stepdad didn't show up at home. That's when DHS came to the house, and that's when I had to go to the doctors, get it checked up, and turns out he did had his DNA on me. And that's when court began. My mom started crying because they told her, but I didn't tell my mom, and she was mad at me that I couldn't yell, I couldn't scream. After that was happening and he went to jail, the sentence was 8 years. After 8 years, they put him back to Mexico, and I just never saw him again. That was it for him. I honestly thought everything was over, everything was done. After he went to jail, they decided to take me to a disability check for just in case if I had anything. They sent me to a disability check-in, and my mom told me to lie to them to help her and to help me with our for living situations. So I said, okay, just to help them out, and I lied to them about oh, I couldn't focus with this, I couldn't focus. And when I told them, and I pretend not to know some of the stuff, like, blocks or like words, and that's when they signed me up for SSI benefits. And after that, my mom started seeing me different. Ever since those stuff was being touched, my mom paid attention more to my sister more than me. Those are the most painful things that she ever did, was just neglecting me by taking my money and just lying to me. Started bullying me by saying things I can't do. She emotionally abused me by saying I couldn't cry or else she was gonna hit me. I couldn't get angry or she would hit me. I was still getting bullied at school to the point I just stopped. I still stopped focusing on school. A second time it happened with a next door neighbor. My mom was outside with my sister, smoking and hanging out with the friends. I was upstairs playing video games, and this stranger came in and decided to molest me. I was playing video games. He came in and I was trying to focus on playing games, and he just whipped out his, and I told him to stop. I don't feel comfortable. Please go away. And he said sorry, but he just stand there just playing, and then he started to kiss my neck and then laid me down, and I was just frozen in fear. And he started to do stuff to me like my dad did and my uncle. After that, a few days later, my mom heard my sister ran to her, and she told my mom that I was a whore, that I should get beaten up because I was getting touched by him. And my sister started blaming me, and she said I shouldn't have beat you up. And they were outside talking with their friends, and I didn't know what to do at this point. And they started blaming me for I shouldn't have done it, and they started defending him because he was high and that was a brother. And we have court, and then my mom wasn't sitting with me during court. She was sitting with them, and that felt betrayed. They cared more about my sister's boyfriend brother more than me, and my mom cared about her friends and them more than me. He went to jail, the molester that molested me, and they just kept on neglecting me by not talking to me. There was no communication. After that, that's when I told the DHS before they leave that I want to move in with my aunt because I think it's better than living with the people that didn't pay attention or care about me. I had nowhere to go. Instead, I went to job corps to graduate from there. It was like a program. This was the last court, but it really did mess me up more about my self-esteem because they found him not guilty from sexual assault, and my aunt was being childish and then laughing at me because, females in my family, females always protect guys over children, and it's very wrong. There was so many stuff that happened between me and my aunt and my uncle ever since I moved in with her. Like, my aunt, if we were happy and if she was sad, then she'll try to make us upset or mad because she was mad. Or if we were sad, they'll threaten to hit us or take something away from us. Like phones, technologies, or like art. They were emotionally abused. My aunt was emotionally abusing me. After the neighbor though, my uncle sexually assaulted me. This was twice. After my mom and the next door neighbor, I moved in with my aunt. And after my uncle touched me, I think it was the only way to get away from my mom. But even though my uncle did touch me, I thought he wouldn't do it again, but he did. So another court case appeared with my uncle. And that's when court ended last year on my birthday. I'm 22. The court thing ended, on when I turned 22. That was last year. After the neighbor got put to jail, everyone just dismiss it like it was normal. When the court was finished, and this was the last trial for the next door neighbor, we were sitting in the living room from like the doors. I was inside the room, but there was like a large window glass, and my mom looked at me and questioned me about what's happening. I told her that I want to go live with my aunt because I don't feel safe living with her. And my mom started crying because I wanted to make that decision. After that, I waited a few minutes. That's when I called my aunt and I told her that I want to live with you. And then she said, "Are you sure?" And I was definitely sure, because I think it's better to not have that situation happen again. And after that, we went back home. I started packing my bags, my belongings, and my aunt arrived after an hour later. I went downstairs. My mom bought My Little Pony headphones that I wanted for like a really long time, and this was just only a pair of headphones that was from, probably $5 and below, but I did wanted it, and my mom tried to bribe me just to stay with her, so she bought me headphones so I won't leave her. And I just shook my head no. And, my mom was crying. She was trying to guilt trip me because I did not want to live with her no more. And she was just looking at me really upset, and she looked angry. After that, my mom didn't really visit me at all. She'll visit me once in a blue just to drink with my aunt. And that's when I started skipping class, and sometimes I would just go to classes that I'm not interested in. And I was just tired. I was living with my grandma a bit, and she did not want me either because it was my mom's responsibility. My grandma did not like me because I wasn't doing nothing with my life. I do remember sitting in the stairway crying because I only had like a month left until I had to move in with my mom again. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't want to be like my mom and my sister, drinking and smoking. I want to choose a good path of my life. I didn't want to mess up. I remember sitting in their stairway crying, and one of the principals, he was new, he came in and saw me sit in the stairway, and he questioned what was wrong. And I told him my housing situation and my family, and he got me a counselor core worker. I went in there and sat down. I told them my past story, my life situation right now. They introduced me to a program called Job Corps. So I applied to there, and I went for interview to sign up, and they told me if you want to move in there, move out faster, you can. It just depends on, your situation right now. And I told them that I want to move out immediately. I had to pack up for at least until midnight and then wake up early just to move out of my grandma's house. Job Corps is basically a program that you can graduate from your GED and high school diploma, but in order to graduate, you had to have a trade with you. I did culinary arts for 2 years. I just moved on with my life, and I did met a friend from Job Corps. We started being friends in the pandemic, and we both graduated, and turns out he moved closer, like a few blocks away from me. He told me I can move in with him. I told him about my family situation, and he understand that. And that's when I moved in with him, and I cut ties with my mom. And after that, I didn't know how to get insurance. I didn't know how to get therapy. So after that, my illness was getting worse, more like complex, because I started having complex PTSD when I was 8 years old, like nightmares and flashbacks. I found out that I have complex PTSD when I was 19, because I was on the computer discovering myself, or what do I have, and it said I had PTSD. I met my boyfriend through Discord. Things started to go good, and that's when we started going to dates, and I moved in with him. His family really liked me. I moved in with him. Like right now, I'm still living with him after 2 years later, and I'm still healing after the whole impact after last year. I'm still healing from that, from all the stuff that happened. I was able to find insurance. I was able to find a therapist, but it didn't work out that much because it wasn't really helping. So I'm still looking for therapy. I haven't found forgiveness yet because stuff that happened last year did still impact me as a little kid until now. I'm still figuring out myself. And the most out of all healing that did help me in life is my friend's mother wants to adopt me. To be adopted, I want to be offered to be adopted. And I did not want to ask people that want to adopt me. My mom doesn't deserve to have a child in her life, even by name, including my biological dad, because even though he wasn't in my life, he was also the same things go to the stepdad. He was a pedophile, he was a rapist and abuser, and he also didn't deserve to be my biological dad. I feel safe now. I don't have to be around a lot of men. I still have trouble with older men, but I feel safe. What helped me got through it, it's basically reminding yourself that you're not alone, and other people also have the same situation as you, and we're all here for each other. And I know they're gonna get through life so far. I know it's tough on them, but you don't have your hopes down. Bring them back up. Even if they're family, even when they're toxic, ignore them if they're being toxic. Find better people in your life. Find a better friends and family that can help you and just be there for you when you're in your bad times, and also comfort you from the stuff you're going through. I have social anxiety. I would dissociate sometimes because some certain stuff will still trigger me until this day. I'm still learning how to heal, learning how to communicate more by that. It's hard to express my emotions because I get scared of telling people how I feel, and I get scared that they're like them, like my family back then, even though my boyfriend said, we're not like them. I guess there's certain stuff that does trigger me, reminds me of it. So sometimes I would get scared of not telling them what's wrong. I told my mom that I was gonna kill myself, and she said, go ahead, kill yourself then. And that's when she left to her room, and I grabbed the pills from the downstairs where my mom keeps her medication, grabbed a bottle of water, and I took one pill and I threw it back up because I had trouble with pills, because sleeping pills. I thought to myself, what if I committed suicide? I know my mom wouldn't care because she said that, or she'll just lie to the people saying that she loved me, she took care of me, she cared me as a daughter, but I couldn't let that happen. So I just stopped myself from taking more pills at that very moment and just let myself be. They're not supposed to blame you from all the stuff that happened to you. So when I thought about that, it's you know what? I'm gonna give myself a chance and just try and relive my life. I want to live a good life. Before I die, I said to myself, before I die, I want to live a good life before anything happens. Me thinking to myself, even though I have a bad life right now, I want to have a good life before I die. Not just a bad life and then just die without anything good.